Now, one example that stood out for me was because when you think about business process in particular, the one thing that is going to be true is more things are going to be digitized. As we see the power of IoT and other tools that are going to be used, every workflow is going to be automated. On an ongoing basis, that means we need to have a set of tools that allow us to reduce the total cost of these customizations and automation. And now we've built a complete new app platform, which I think represents a tremendous opportunity for everyone in the room. Power BI, PowerApps, and Flow, that combination of it is just going to change how applications are built and deployed and things get automated. London Heathrow, busiest airport in Europe, a plane takes off every 45 seconds, 78 million passengers, and one employee sort of saw an opportunity for their own digital transformation journey to be accelerated. Let's roll the video.
I don't just want to make a living, I want to make a difference. When I left school at 16, my dad was working in Heathrow at the time, and this opportunity came up as becoming a security officer. I thought, what a great opportunity, you know, my dad used to take me here to watch see planes and everything. So why not work for a company or an airport like Heathrow? I've been a security officer for 13 years. When I saw the amount of paper and time we were spending, I saw an app would be a great solution for these problems to be solved. About a year ago, I started learning about the Microsoft programs. I went home and I looked at a blog from PowerApps, and it said, this is how you can build an app. And I thought, why didn't no one know this? Because this could have so much potential to change so many things. We have saved 11,000 sheets of paper and saved around 288 hours of manual input data. Going from paper to digital has been amazing. It doesn't matter what your skill levels are like, anybody can build this app.
Him with his community of super users have created 17 power apps that are already being used across our airport, and this is just the tip of the iceberg.
My name is Samit Saini, and I'm a IT user adoption specialist at Heathrow. There's no limit of what you can create with new technology. I'll create a new career.
A wonderful day to everybody. Welcome to Microsoft Ignite the Tour here in London. How's the event been so far?
Awesome.
Good, right? Boy, it's such a privilege and honor to be a part of this amazing, amazing event worldwide. But what's more special today is the story you just heard. And we're going to unpack that story. I'm very grateful to share this next 45 minutes with my good friend Dona. And obviously, we'll learn about Samit's story. Now, to get the conversation started, before we learn about Samit's story, maybe let's step back, and I want to talk about what Satya talked about. This new model of empowering people with this platform called the Power Platform, and the technology PowerApps, which is central to it. So if you think about Microsoft's mission statement to empower every person, every organization in the world, they're not just saying it from a lip service perspective, they're actually doing it with all the technologies they built. And I'm so excited about this technology stack, where truly the idea of less code, more power, where anybody and everybody can develop applications, and we'll hear from Samit's story and the apps he built, and how it can change your businesses and unlock new opportunities. So PowerApps essentially allows non-developers or even developers to quickly build business solution apps through the power of the Microsoft Cloud. So if we look at the platform, so it's called the Microsoft Power Platform, it consists of 4 key technology sets that allows people to build solutions. So one being Power BI. I'm sure a lot of you are familiar with Power BI. Then we have PowerApps, and later we'll see some examples of the solutions Samit and the rest of his colleagues at Heathrow got to build. Power Automate, formerly known as Flow, and Power Virtual Agents, which Dona will talk about and share some of her experiences with PBA as well. Now, underneath that, which kind of ties everything together and enables more capabilities and unlocks the power of the other Microsoft Cloud technologies, are things like data connectors, your AI builder, and the CDS, or the Common Data Service. This week, or these 2 days, there's tons of session around the Power Platform, so I encourage everybody to attend those sessions as well. So this is the big picture, where for non-developers, every citizen developer, as they would call, they can take advantage of Power BI, PowerApps, Power Automate, and Power Virtual Agents, and then behind the scenes, the rest of the Microsoft Cloud Stack can be utilized without necessarily worrying about writing heavy code. Now, I'm not saying you don't want to write code. Certainly, there's scenarios and more complex apps that we need our developer colleagues to help us with. But for day-to-day business solution, think apps like the apps you have on your phone. Certainly, the Power Platform can provide that for you. So this is kind of a picture of who and which technologies folks can take advantage of. And what we're going to focus on and talk about, and what we're going to see later on, is PowerApps. PowerApps is a low-code approach to building apps. When we talk about apps, we're not just limiting to the apps that we're used to. Obviously, mobile apps is a central element to this, but you can build apps for Windows, for non-Windows devices, for non-Microsoft devices, iOS, Androids. And the beauty of this is you don't have to build separate apps for the same solution set. You build it once and you can deploy it to various platforms. Some examples of the apps that's available, and there's tons of templates there. So things like, let's say you want to automate expenses. Some organizations today, I'm pretty sure that you have to get that Excel file, fill out that Excel file, email it, right? And then you don't hear from somebody, you bug them again about your expense reimbursement. But what if you can automate that and make it more modern with PowerApps? You can use also things like model-driven apps and even portals. These portals are beautiful, ready-made, that you just tailor for your own branding. Underlying all this, the Common Data Service is where it stores the data. And not only you can use the Common Data Service in conjunction with your PowerApps, you can tie it to any legacy systems or existing data sources you may have. Let's say you already are using things like SharePoint as a data storage, or you have other data sources or non-Microsoft data sources. You can tap it in along with Common Data Service and make it available for your PowerApps as well. So last but not the least, and this is the really cool part here, AI Builder is one of those things that when people hear about it, it's cool, it's so futuristic, but I won't know how to use it. Nuh-uh. It's actually so powerful that you don't really have to worry about coding it. So for example, it could do things like visual recognition. One of the customers I work with is a government agency in the US, and we built an application for them so that their citizens can report through their mobile app any type of non-emergency request. So things like if they want to report for a graffiti, or a pothole, or an open manhole, they can take a picture of the graffiti, and through AI cognitive services, which AI Builder uses, it detects, oh, you're reporting a graffiti. Oh, you're reporting a pothole. Oh, you're reporting a broken tree branch. Whoever's taking that picture, they don't even have to type what it is. It recognizes. So that's one example. You can also recognize text, obviously, but also recognize sound and audio. And one of the cool things with cognitive services too, you can even have live video and recognize emotions. So based on facial expressions, they can tell if people are happy or sad or upset, all that good stuff. And you can tap into this with your Power App application too. So this gives you a picture of what the opportunities and the potential can be for you if you leverage Power Apps. I want to turn over the floor to Dona and talk about how she came into this world and why she's doing what she's doing. Dona?
That's dramatic. So how many of you have used an app in the last year? If you haven't used an app, who are you? What's happening? How many of you have built an app in the last year? And this, friends, is the problem. If there's 100 people in a room, 2 of them have created content, 8 of them have engaged with content, and 90% of them have done nothing but consume that content. Now, you can imagine that given these stats, this is just an average room. You can imagine why this app gap exists. Right now, we're in the middle of this global epidemic where there's 500 million apps that need to be written for companies. This is not even apps to get more food delivery. This is apps in companies. Companies you work for and work with. Things like expense reports that we all hate, mileage tracking, which we all hate. These are apps that do things that we don't really want to do, and we need technology to solve these problems for us. Now, every company is a special snowflake, though, right? So a big company can't come along and just build an app and say, everyone use this. It doesn't work. Every company says, no, we have our own special needs, so we're going to do this horrible manual process that involves paper and documentation and forms and mailing receipts to, Tarnation UK to get them stamped by somebody. How many of you have this kind of weird process in your company right now? That involves paper and forms, exactly. We do too at Microsoft. It's very, very annoying. So what we need are people to digitize these processes and to make these problems go away. We just need these problems to go away. That way we can free up our brain cells and our time and actually solve the world's problems. So let's talk a little bit about why Power Platform. The reason we're talking about it in a Humans of IT talk is because this is something where anyone can get involved. It does not matter if you do not have a 4-year CS degree. It does not matter if you've never written code in your life. It does not matter that you are shitty at math. Trust me, it doesn't matter if you're dyslexic. I am dyslexic. I've been dyslexic since I was 5 years old. I did not know that until about 3 or 4 years ago. I just started talking about it publicly because I felt this tremendous shame that people would think I'm stupid, that she can't even read. How could she have a leadership job at Microsoft? She can't even read right. How can she be an author? She can't even read right. How can she be a software engineer? But after revealing this about myself, coming out of this closet of neurodiversity, the sheer number of people who reached out and said, thank you, Dona, for sharing your story, and thank you for sharing how you cope and how you deal. And it's been amazing to see that kind of support and love and just understanding. How many of you know someone who has dyslexia or have it yourself? That's a lot of people. That's a lot of people. So dyslexia is what we call a neurodiversity. Neurodiversity is simply something that works differently in our brains than what we identify as neurotypical 100 years ago. So 100 years ago, a bunch of people ran some tests on a bunch of brains and said, these are normal brains, these are not normal brains. And we still stick to those definitions to this day. And that is why there are so many different kinds of neurodiversity, and there's so many neurodivergent people. I believe everyone in the world is neurodivergent in some way or another. And every neurodiversity is a scale. There's not dyslexic, non-dyslexic. There's what level of dyslexic are you? On a day when you're tired, you mix up words and letters. On days when we're not using Twitter right, we make a typo and now we're stuck with an edit button for the rest of our lives, right? We've all been befallen by a neurodiversity at some given point or another. How many of you know someone who would identify as neurodiverse? That's a lot of people. I think at this point in our tech industry, it's on us to lead and say that there's nothing shameful about being neurodivergent. And in fact, when we bring that part of ourselves to the table, we can build better products. One of my favorite products in the entire world is accessibility mode, or the read aloud mode in OneNote. Recently, Brian decided that he's going to bring that to PowerApps and make it so that anyone in the world can have this kind of read aloud mode within PowerApps. That's the kind of thing we need to be doing. Because if we're truly going to make products for everyone in the world, we need to make products for everyone in the world. And the only and best way to do that is for more people to get involved. So my mission is not just to have all of you building PowerApps because it's a good thing to do, but because it will help people who have your specific neurodiversities and who have neurodiversities that are similar to yours, who may be feeling like they're stupid right now, but once they use your product, they realize they're not. So I'd like to introduce someone very special who you watched in a video. Samit was a Heathrow security officer. He now leads an IT department at Heathrow Airport. But more importantly than any of this is something that we don't talk about very much, which is he also has dyslexia. And he overcame 2 imposter syndromes. 1, dyslexia, 2, not being a coder, to bring 12 apps to Heathrow Airport, saving the millions of hours and millions of dollars. So, Samit, please come. We're going to put him in the middle and ask him hard questions.
That's right.
Yeah.
So, we want to make sure we take this time and really focus in on his work and the value that is provided not only to you and to your organization. So, Samit, why don't you introduce yourself, tell your story. I know we got a snippet of it from the video, and just your journey in the last 2 years.
No problem. So thank you for it's wonderful to be here. It's amazing to get to see everyone here and to learn about PowerApps. So how many of you have travelled through Heathrow Airport?
Hey, everybody's still laughing.
There you go. So probably one time in my lifetime I've probably seen you go through Heathrow Airport.
You might have patted somebody here.
Or search your bag, yeah, absolutely. So I've been working as a security officer for 13 years, and my day-to-day job was to ask passengers, could you please remove your liquids, laptops and iPads, or checking your boarding card to take you to your next destination. And I was doing it for 13 years, because when I left school when I was 16, I didn't do too well at school, and I failed in English and maths. I thought I'd go and follow my dad's footsteps, who also worked at Heathrow Airport, and he worked there for 27 years. And I thought I would make him proud, and I would follow his footsteps and go and work at Heathrow Airport. So I did that for 13 years, and the great thing about working at Heathrow, I got to meet my wife there as well, who is also a security officer. So when I got to see her at Heathrow, I said, that's the person I want to get married to, and a month later we got engaged. So it's been an amazing journey working at Heathrow. And then in 2018, the business change manager, she came to the front line to talk to the frontline colleagues, and she said, by the way, we have got Office 365 applications, not just for office staff, but to frontline colleagues as well. And at that time, we didn't have a work email address. We used to use our own personal email address.
So people use like Hotmail, Gmail.
Yeah, I'll give you an example. Someone had an email address called hellomsskitty85@hotmail.com. So
we're not going to tell that person's name.
Of course not.
That's right.
That's been deleted now. But it was mine email. But we couldn't use our personal and also email our managers at the same time. And so they said, look, now you have a Heathrow account. Now you've got a Heathrow email address. So Samit.Saini@Heathrow.com. And I thought, wow, this is amazing. But then they said, look, we have all these other applications available to you. Go and check them out. And I thought, okay, this is something new. So that day, I went straight away, I went home, quickly put the kids to bed, and then started learning each application. And when I was learning about OneNote, and I knew a little bit about Word and PowerPoint, when I got to look at each and every application, I got onto PowerApps. And I clicked on PowerApps, and it said, you can create an app in 5 minutes. Okay, I said, fine, let me try this out. So I clicked on the blog, and it says, open up an Excel spreadsheet, create your columns, name them, then save your Excel spreadsheet, and then save it into OneDrive.
So, Samit, to interrupt you, sorry. You've never written code before?
No.
Ever?
No.
You've never taken coding?
No.
You were shitty at math?
Yeah, absolutely.
How many of you were shitty at math? I am shitty at math now, so, and you were shitty at reading.
Yeah.
You know, Donna, you're the only one who can use that word in a session.
I guess I'm not supposed to. So you didn't have this thought of like, I can be a coder. You were like, I'm gonna do this stuff with Excel. Yeah. Because you're like, I know Excel. Everyone knows Excel. Does everyone know how to use Excel vaguely? Yeah. You know how to use Excel and OneNote.
Yeah.
And you're like, let's give this a shot. Okay, carry on.
Absolutely. And the steps were so simple. It's like step 1, do this. Step 2, do this, and it's really easy. And then once I saved my Excel spreadsheet and then gave it a name, I saved it onto OneDrive. It asked me to go to the PowerApps application and go to create your database. Go to OneDrive and find your Excel spreadsheet. Press the tick button and click create your app. So I clicked on it, and within 2 minutes, my app started generating. It would have been faster, but my internet was kind of slow at the time. But straight away, the app was being created, and you had a tick box, you had a tick box to submit, you had a text box to input your the information, get the total, everything was there for me to do.
So you didn't have to create the form, the
Nothing.
button, nothing. Okay.
Nothing. And I had this big smile and said, this can't be this easy, right? And so I saved the app, named it, and then it asked me to go to either my App Store or Google Play and install PowerApps. As soon as I installed PowerApps on my phone and opened it up, the app that I saved on my computer is on my phone. I opened it up and it came on, and I filled in a couple of fields in the text box, pressed the tick button, and boom, that information that's on my phone is straight away gone straight to the Excel spreadsheet. And I'm like, wow, why doesn't anyone know this?
Yeah.
And so,
Who knew Excel is a great database, right?
absolutely.
Better than Access.
But honestly, the first time it made me feel like, oh wow, I feel really smart, that I've created something that we always use. Like many of us use apps daily basis. To actually see my own app on my phone and using it, I had so many ideas. I was so excited to share this knowledge, but I wanted to have something I wanted to really build. So I went.
So what time was this already? So that was the same night, right?
Same night, yeah.
Yeah.
So I was thinking, what should I build? And I thought, okay, I want to build a language app. That's the thing. It was the first.
You all have to see the book.
Okay, show the book.
You show them the book. So this is before PowerApps, okay?
Yeah.
So what happens is at Heathrow is we're an international airport, and most of our staff cannot speak more than one language. And what happens is that we have a lot of bag rejections at Heathrow. Some people leave their liquids in their bag, laptops and iPads, and sometimes the passenger doesn't understand the language that we're speaking. So we use this book, and this book has over 82 pages with 32 languages, and it tells you how to move liquids, laptops, and iPads in those languages.
Throw away your water, why do you have that, etc. In all the languages.
Yeah. So I thought, why not take this book home and scan each page and make it into an app?
So wait, why did you pick this? I mean, fine, it's paper, but what's the pain point you're experiencing with this book?
So for example, we can't take this book anywhere with us. It has to be back of our machine. So we can't take it landside. So if a passenger asks us a certain language and we don't understand it, we can't bring the book with us.
Hey, don't tweet that we have the book here.
You stole the book. Yeah.
So then I'll be.
I can't go home tomorrow, so.
And then my next session will be like, yeah, so this one last year I did work at Heathrow.
So I stole the book.
Yeah. So I wanted to make something that is not just helps me, but helps my colleagues as well, because we have the same kind of issue all the time. And I thought, my aim was to add value. I wanted that opportunity to add value to our work. And I thought, why not use something that is simple? So I asked my manager, so can I take this book home and let me show you what I can do with it. So I took the book home, scanned the pages, and within weeks, because I'd scanned each page, I was able to create something like this.
So let me kind of do a demo of this app. So you can talk through it as I play this.
So I scanned the pages, and it was so easy. Again, this app has no coding at all. So all I was doing is adding an image and adding buttons. And each button has an action that says go to this page. If you click on Italian, it'll go to the Italian section, just like PowerPoint and hyperlink. So I was just doing that. And I thought, the more I was learning about PowerApps, I thought, what else can I do? So I added a video, and I asked my colleague could you speak in your own language and show how to move liquids, laptops, and iPads. How you insert images onto PowerPoint, that's exactly how I was doing with PowerApps, where I was inserting images and videos. And it didn't take me that long. And then the more I learned about PowerApps, I was adding connectors like Microsoft Translator. So now I can type in English, and it will come out with the language that I wanted to use. And I thought amazing. And then I got back to work the next day, and I said to my manager, "Can I show you something?" He goes, "Yeah, absolutely." Showed him the app. He goes, "Who created this?" I said,
Are you a software developer?
So which IT person did this, right?
And then he said, how much coding is involved? I said, let's book a 30-minute session. Let me show you from scratch how this app is built. And then he goes, okay, this is amazing. So can we introduce you to our business change manager? Her name is Komal, and let's get you building more apps, or let's see what we can do next. So they introduced me.
So wait, at this point, did you get a new job, or
Not yet, no.
you're still checking bags?
So checking back.
Still checking back.
So on your break time, you're building PowerApps.
Any opportunity I had, I would try, build something. So, and I had so many ideas. Building one app, I had so many other ideas. But when I got to meet Komal, who was the business change manager at the time, she goes, okay, no one's using PowerApps here, no one's built any PowerApps at Heathrow. Would you like to showcase what we've done once a week? So we take you 2 hours off your shift, and you can show different departments how to build an app or show them what you can do with it.
So at this point, I have to ask, does IT know what's going on, or what was IT's feeling about this?
Yeah, so IT knew about it. They said I was a shadow IT. Thank you for hiring me.
Highest compliment right there. They're like,
Wait,
yes, shadow IT, what's that?
this is the first time I've heard Microsoft tools being shadow IT.
Yeah.
So they're like, okay, this is interesting. Could you look into it more? Because no one's actually looked into it. And it gave me kind of a boost to keep learning more and more and see what I can do with it. So once a week, 2 hours away from my shift, I used to present the app and give people ideas of what you can do with it and so on. And then about a month later, my manager, Komal, said, would you like to join our team and become an adoption specialist? And I said to her, I'll be honest with you, I would love to, but I haven't done an interview in like 14 years, haven't updated my CV, and I have trouble reading and writing, and dyslexic and have ADD. And she goes, I'll be honest with you, that doesn't matter to me. For me, is that you have taken the time to learn something and share that knowledge with people. So I'd love for you to come in our team and do what you do and see what else you can do with the Power Platform. So my first week at in Komal's team, she says, what else can we do? I know you built something that's nice and simple and adds value, but what else can you do? I said, well, our security managers have a lot of paper processes that have a lot of auditing, from uniforms to signages to, like Dax was saying, about potholes and stuff like that. So, and we're trying to keep a safer place. So why don't you remove a big process? So this is the first time I actually got to meet got to talk to my managers and say, and they actually listen to me, which is great. So I said, this is your paper process, and I'm going to be helping you build an app, because I'm not going to build this app for me, I'm building this app for you. So let's see how we can make your life easier. And they gave me the piece of paper and said, we don't use this section, we don't use this section anymore, we don't use this section. I said, okay, and we looked at the branding, we did a little wireframe, and I'm not just learning about how to build an app, I'm learning things like stakeholder management, wireframing, requirements, making my life easier to ask what they want. And we made it so simple, we did it within 2 weeks where there's less text, more drop-down menus, more buttons, and to put all the data into one, from piece of paper to phone was brilliant. Because what my manager was saying was that before, had to print out a piece of paper, they had to go to different terminals, so from terminal 2 to terminal 5, do the audit, go back to the terminal, hand that piece of paper to the admin person.
To type it in.
To type it in on an Excel spreadsheet.
Okay, so pause for a second. How many of you have a weird thing like this in your company, where someone types or prints something and someone physically sneaker nets it across buildings to somewhere else, gets stamped and signed, right? Yep. So at Microsoft, not to be, to whatever, sorry Satya, we used to have a process, I am not kidding, not that long ago, where when we'd go on a trip like this, we'd take our receipts with us physically. We'd need the physical receipt. Then we'd go home, write out how much we spent on lunch or taxis into the expense tool. Then we'd staple the receipts. We'd print out the expense report, staple the receipts to the expense report, and mail it to Fargo, North Dakota. I am not kidding. That was not that long ago.
Mm.
And I can imagine that if Microsoft's doing this not that long ago, there's probably companies that are still doing this right now, where you're mailing receipts places, or you're printing out a timesheet and filling it out by hand. Or as we talked to a bank recently, whenever they do a transaction you take money out of the vault and put it into the ATM, they'd write it down on a sheet of paper. and at the end of the day add to see how much money should be in the vault compared to not. This happens all over the world. It happens in every city. It happens in New York City, it happens in Nairobi. And we fully are aware that this is the global epidemic that we're facing.
And then I just want to add on to this. So the traditional sense of technology, right? We as IT, we always think about we don't have enough resources. There's so much things to do. Hence, we don't have time to build these apps. And at some point in history, there's not enough technology to empower citizen developers. So that's what Power Platform is all about. Now, I would have to go back to the year transition. So you moved on to this new team. What was your former boss or former security team thinking? Like, what was their feelings, and what was your former boss? What was he upset? Was he happy?
I mean, he was happy. Firstly, he couldn't believe it.
Yeah.
But then, like,
It's a software development now.
It's actually in IT because I had this perception where I work at the Compass Center. It's away from the terminals, and I used to look at that area and thought that the only way you can work in this building is if you have got a qualification or a degree. But for me to go from there, it's like my colleagues were like, how do you get this? And I said, well, you can learn PowerApps. And so it's been really good to see them transform from frontline colleagues and move into IT as well and working in different departments as well.
So with your Bachelor of Science in PowerApps, so can you share, so you talked about improving processes, paper. I think this app was very, very powerful and relevant. So can you talk through what this was like before and what this app does? And then I'll show the technical framework in a second.
Absolutely. I mean, like I was talking about how this is an app about the special assistance app, where we try to make sure we give the best service we can to our special assistance passengers. So we make sure that their flight was okay, they got the right seating, the right equipment, everything. Whereas before, when we gave that piece of paper to the admin person, that admin person would spend around 2 days inputting all that data, end of the month, onto an Excel spreadsheet and then create a pie chart or bar chart. But we also nearly lost about up to 2% of data because if your handwriting is anything like mine on a piece of paper, you're having trouble writing on an Excel spreadsheet. So you're losing that. So I had to make something that was nice and simple like this app here. That the example I was giving to my colleagues that you should build an app that is simple, just like Facebook or Snapchat or Instagram. You don't need a tutorial to show you how this app is used. And I wanted to make something like that. So what we did was the admin person, again, would make a pie chart and bar chart, and in the end of the month would say this is how much we lost, how much equipment we lost. So with this app now, we built the app that goes straight to SharePoint list, and from SharePoint list it goes to Power BI, so it gives you live data straight away. But the thing is, we became more proactive than reactive, whereas before you have to wait end of the month just to see how much we lost or how well we're not doing. Whereas now, if you have a missing equipment, we can press the no button and a flow can go straight to the manager and say, you need to fill this part of the area.
So when you talk about equipment, these are like wheelchairs.
Yeah, wheelchairs.
Okay.
Wheelchairs, walking sticks, and so on. They go missing a lot. It's unbelievable. So to have something like Power Automate to press a button and get a notification straight away to say that we are low in this kind of equipment, can you come fill it up now? It's about giving the best service we can to our passengers. We don't want our passengers to be waiting around for wheelchairs or walking sticks. So this helped a lot. And with Power BI dashboard, that person who was spending 2 days inputting that data can add value somewhere else now and do something else. You're taking the machine out of the person, if you know what I mean. So you're not, that person can do other things as well. So this app saves us up to 5,000 sheets of paper per month. That's across Heathrow, across all terminals.
That's a lot of trees saved.
I know.
Yeah.
And a lot of sanity, my God.
There should be a tree planting activity every month,
There should
right?
be, to make
That's
up for the fact that we've saved so many trees.
So talk about savings. I know these are just 2 examples of the 12 apps, initial 12 apps you were involved with. Rough estimate, how much time, money, I mean, you track this thing,
Yeah,
right?
absolutely. So one tree shreds an average 8,000 sheets of paper, and we saved up to 72,000 sheets of paper so far with 12 apps going live. That's up to 9 trees. We saved up to £300,000 in staff cost itself. We never had a team to build apps for us before. We used to ask third parties to build apps for us. So one app used to cost us up to £66,000 to build an app. And if we wanted to make any changes, then it would cost us a bit more.
Another $60,000.
Absolutely, yeah.
I want dark mode and $60,000.
So now we saved up to £720,000 of building our own apps, and you can change it whenever or modify whenever you want. But we also saved to become more efficient as well. We saved up to 950 hours of manual input time. So that saves us a lot of hours. But most of all, I know we track about being efficient and so on, but we've also been tracking how many people have benefited by learning the Power Platform in their departments and so on. So, for example, if you don't want me sharing.
Yeah. Share your story. Yeah.
We saved up to 14. We had 14 people being promoted now from frontline colleagues to other departments to go to work in different areas from HR to
So this is, I mean, you don't want to say this, but as a result of what he did, he inspired a lot of other colleagues. Although his former security boss was pretty upset because a lot of folks from security have moved on now to IT.
Yeah, it's great to see people, like, I want people to feel like how I feel when I build an app. I want to feel like, when I built my first app, I felt really smart and I felt amazing. If I can do it, anybody can do it. And that's why we try to not push hard, but it's growing organically where people want to say, I've been waiting so long to build something. I see the story where 2 years ago, or 3 years ago, I went to IT and I said, we need a language app. And said, no, it costs too much money and I don't think it's like we need it yet. So sometimes our ideas go to graveyard because someone says your idea is not feasible. So I didn't want to tell someone my idea again, I wanted to build it. And with PowerApps, people can do that now, so it's been great.
So you mentioned something earlier, which Brian went to yesterday, and I'll be going to next Wednesday, which is PowerApps Wednesdays. Can you tell us a little bit about PowerApps Wednesdays?
Absolutely. So we have a community now at Heathrow where we have a monthly MVT where we have people meet up and talk about what they've been building, the ideas, and we do every week we do like a learn bit where we show new tools, new things in PowerApps. It doesn't matter if you're starting fresh or you're an expert, but it's not just me who teaches them. We have people who have learned PowerApps now and teaching other people, and then we do this kind of session. It's great because it helps us become a more bigger and stronger community. If I'm not available, there's someone out there who can help and say, oh, I know this question, I've had this trouble before. And there's people that I would never was able to talk to, but we have a share of, we've got something to talk about now, as in, we've got something in common to talk about. We say, yeah, I've been trying to go about PowerApps, I'm struggling with this bit, don't worry, I've got something to help you. And it's been great to get more and more people coming in every week and say, I want to learn about PowerApps, and this is how you can start off with.
And you mentioned too, you also have kids from school coming, and you're mentoring them as well, right?
Absolutely. So we have a work experience program at Heathrow where kids come in and they learn about Heathrow and so on. So now, since PowerApps came in now, we said, why not make it more fun? Let them build an app. So we give them all the facts and figures about Heathrow, and end of their session, end of their work experience, they have to build an app that has facts and figures about Heathrow and like a questionnaire kind of thing, which they love doing. And then we've got a program for hidden disability kids that can come to Heathrow, who are kids who are autistic, and they absolutely love building PowerApps, and they know more better than me. They learn Python at school. It's amazing where different kinds of people, different backgrounds, doesn't matter what kind of is your background, you can build an app. We have interns that come to Heathrow now, and we give them a project to do and say, you got to build an app end of your internship. And so last year we had a German called Sadiq who built a acronym app. So he comes into Heathrow and goes, Samit, there's too many acronyms at Heathrow. And what should we do about it? He said, what do you think we should do about it? I said, we could build that. I said, not we could. You could.
So you're talking about like airport codes and everything.
Yeah, everything. And that's live, that's across Heathrow. We've got new interns this year.
I know we can use an acronym app at Microsoft. That would be just fine too.
And then Brian came yesterday, and we've got new interns coming in who want to learn about PowerApps, and we gave them a challenge, and the next challenge for them is cyber. They don't want to learn about projects about cyber, so how can you build an app on cyber about cyber awareness? So,
Awesome.
Okay, so let's pause for a second. How many of you believe that you, if you have not done it already, that you can build a Power App? If there's one single hand in this room that is not up, we're going to make you give this talk. So, it is possible. How many of you used Excel? Let's see those hands.
There you go.
How many of you can build a Power App? Keep them up. Honestly, if you can use Excel, you can build a Power App. Am I right?
absolutely.
Someone recently said Power Apps is like Excel and PowerPoint got together and had a very useful baby. It's a weird thing, but I think it's accurate-ish, right? It's the magic of PowerPoint Designer where stuff happens here, and the magic of Excel where you put in your data and yay, magic. It is possible. It is absolutely possible. And before you leave, and I'm going to say it now, I'm going to say it at the end, you all have an assignment. You all have an assignment. If you don't do it, I'll know because you batched in. So,
GDPR?
GDPR. I was like, stop talking. Every single person in this room should, if you have not, you should build a Power App. If you need help, find me. I will be at the PowerApps booth, Power Platform booth downstairs. Find him, find Brian, find anyone wearing less code, more power stuff, that's us. And if you build a Power App and you're willing to show it to us, I will give you a very exclusive Power Platypus sticker. No one gets that unless you're a Power Apps builder, unless you're a Power Platform builder. It's the only people. If you want a Power Platypus sticker, that's the way to get it. Now, you're gonna look real cool rolling up into your office with a Power Platypus sticker. Because you suddenly became a software engineer last week.
So,
Deal? Okay.
now, before we open up for questions, I want to go back to something Samit said earlier. You talked about you didn't finish school. You took this job because you thought you'd make your dad proud. He's a security officer, so you're a security officer. And you also talked about you have dyslexia, so at some point you're thinking, being a security officer is great, I can never be a programmer or developer. So tell me about that moment when you got on stage with Sachin. How, in summary, you don't have to go through the whole detail, but how did that impact your family?
Oh, so when I got the phone call to say that would you like to see the CEO of Microsoft, I was like, yeah, absolutely. It's like at 3 o'clock in the morning, and this is while I was filling a app, and I got the email and it said, you stay up 1 more hour so we can have a phone call with you and talk about you coming to Las Vegas. And I couldn't go to sleep, and I was waiting for my dad to wake up, and I said, Dad, I've been asked to go to Las Vegas to see the CEO of Microsoft. And he goes, no, you're going to get smashed. I said, you're going for a stag do. I said, no, I'm literally been asked to go to see the CEO of Microsoft. And he didn't know what I was doing. He thought I was still a security officer, and I'm just doing IT, but I didn't know. But
So he didn't believe you?
he didn't believe me.
Yeah.
And he said, oh, I'll wait till I see it. So got to Las Vegas and got to spend time with Mr. Saini and Dona, and then I didn't know how big the stage was going to be. I thought it was going to be something like this. I'd never seen a Microsoft event before. And so when it was like a big O2 arena, and then they said there's 20,000 people.
There's 20,000 people there, and they're all around you in a circle.
Yeah, I got really nervous, and then, but he said, don't worry about it, it'll be a normal conversation. It's nothing normal about having a conversation. Especially when I'm used to talking to one-to-one my whole life. So the day came that the whole Microsoft Inspire, and then the gentleman who looked after showing me around says, by the way, it's going to be live. And I'm like, no way.
Live online, live streaming.
Yeah, I was like, oh no. Here's a link, and you can share it with your wife, and you can share it with mom and dad. So I sent the link to my mom, to my wife, and I said, just share it with mom and dad. And then my wife texts me back 5 minutes later. She goes, by the way, mum's shared the link to everyone in India. and that made me even more nervous. I literally sweating and
This is what mums do.
yeah. And And literally when everything was done and I was still buzzing, I got to the hotel, and then my dad called me up and he goes, "Sam, I'm really proud of you." And I thought that was my highlight of my whole thing. So it was really good to hear him say that, because that's what I was wanted to do, and I feel like I've done that. So it's really good.
And last thing, your dad's proud, your mom's, I'm sure, pretty proud. What about your family? Back being a security officer, I'm sure your schedule and your shift must be so difficult to spend time with your kids, right?
Oh yeah, because I used to do shift work, so I used to do 4 on 2 off, so I used to do all late shifts, because I'm not an early person. But now I get to spend more time with my kids now and my wife, because I can work from home now, and work Monday to Fridays, weekends off now, which is great, so I don't have to take weekends off, where I used to before. So it's been great working Monday to Fridays, and having to work from home.
All right, well, Samit,
Yeah.
thank you so much.
For having us. I think we have time.
Yeah.
So we want to open this up for questions from you, because we can keep talking all day, as you can see. But I'm sure all of you have a ton of questions.
Yep.
First of all, who is going to build a Power App if they have not done so already? All hands. But otherwise, who has questions?
Question. So I can walk her. Question, yes.
That was really inspirational to hear that. Really, really impressive. I've also had a similar experience with Power Automate. Really love it at work, but the struggle I have is around governance, and I just wondered if you could talk to us about how you have been able to implement these Power Apps, but with governance in mind as well.
Yeah, it's been great. I mean, the governance bit wouldn't be possible if it wasn't for Manuela and Christine Wet over there. You can't ask anything about the excellence and governance and admin.
Actually, do you mind standing up so everyone can see you? She's like, thanks, Mike. Questions about government, see her.
But we were able to see all apps that have been built, what flows have been built as well at the same time. So there's a governance in place that you can actually install and see all that. Is that what you want to ask? Is that?
And you have a whole process, right? Maybe you want
Yes.
to walk through your lifecycle process and lifecycle management for these apps.
So for PowerApps, we have like an app cycle to say that. So I get a notification to see who's building an app and so on. So I get to contact that person and say, "Hi, I see you're building an app. Do you need any assistance? What are you trying to build?" So you need to understand what you're trying to build. Because sometimes you might not be. You know how once you know how to build an app, you build apps for everything. Yeah. But you want to understand and help them go and have that easy journey. But everything that has been built is built in a default environment. So we create an environment that is for live apps, and you can't move your test apps unless it's been signed off. And we make sure that your app's signed off from branding to data to making sure that it's been documented. And once that's all been ticked off by us, then we put it into the live environment. Does that help?
Okay, great. Other questions here? Yes, young lady.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Hi, I'm Becky Little from Resource IT. Funny you say about the app for the Microsoft abbreviations. We created one, so download it on the App Store. Sorry, shameless plug. But also, it has inspired us to actually, I'm not a coder and techie in any shape or form. I'm in business development and running the business, but it inspired me to go off and create my own app. So thank you for that. That's really brilliant. But if I get stuck, is there any online content? Because you talked about your communities and things like that you've created, but is there online content?
Oh, there's so many. You've got Microsoft Learn, you've got the blogs as well.
And
we
community,
have, we also have YouTube channels. I mean, I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for the community. And the best thing you can do is also reach out. When I first started learning about PowerApps, I reached out to Brian Dang, first person on Twitter, and said, "I need help with this," and it's been amazing. So.
And that's one of the really cool things beyond PowerApps, just this community, this tech community, humans of IT. I know a lot of people are like, I don't have time to Twitter, right? I'm not going to go there and tell people what I ate for lunch, right? But there's so many helpful people there. Just do search on hashtag PowerApps, Power Platform, and you'll find people in your local region. So.
Thanks so much.
All right, other questions. So let me go all the way there.
Hi there. What is PowerApps currently missing that you really like to see?
Donna, don't give it the mean look.
I have lots of questions.
I'll be honest with you, there's things where you use a bit more coding than before. So for example, if I want to, I'll say this from Blind, where you know where your app where you have it, make it portrait, and then so you move your app to landscape, you have to use a bit more coding. But if you can make it more simple, the way to switch it on, where it just rotates by itself, that'd be great. I think that'd be one of the features to be next.
All right, I'll take one last question. I think we're time's on. Yes, sir.
Hi, my question is about how do you deal with obstacles or pushback when you have all these ideas? Because it could be governance, it could be confusing licensing, and so on.
Adoption. And for me, it's always been it's not about the tech, it's about the people. So people have so many ideas about reaching out and saying, what are you trying to build? You know, I know this might be, when I started to like when I did the language app, where it said, no, we don't have the money for it and so on. And that's when I started learning that we should quantify everything. What is the reason you're trying to build something? What is the root cause of the problem that you're trying to build something? I watch a lot of Dragon's Den. So when you have things like obstacles, you're trying to get those, what are the obstacles you're trying to, what are you trying to achieve basically? Because if you're building something for your organization, what value does it add to your organization? And that's what we're trying to find out. See if there's one obstacle, let's find another route for it. So there's been times where it might not be a Power App, it could be something else like a Microsoft Forms. You know, there's so many other applications out there, but it's always best to look out and again reach out because there might be an answer from somewhere. Does that help?
That's a good tip. To learn stakeholder management, Dragon's Den. So guys, what do you think? Again, everything good? Useful?